moment, we will at least, at the outside of the courthouse. We're talking about Billy Joe Cagle. Again, he's accused of threatening to shoot up Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. He's pleaded not guilty to federal charges. That was last month. So here's what we know about this. He's 49 years old. He's charged with attempted violence at an international airport, interstate communications containing threats to injure the person of another, and being a felon in possession of a gun. He was previously charged by Atlanta police with several state crimes, including terroristic threats, criminal attempt to commit aggravated assault, possession of a gun during the commission of a felony, and a possession of a firearm by a felon. So as you're hearing there, a whole host of charges that he is facing right now. So just to remind you of what happened here, because it was a while back at this point, according to the Department of Justice, he was on a FaceTime call with family members when he allegedly threatened to shoot up the airport while he was driving there. So after the call, Cagle's family went to the Cartersville Police Department, which alerted Bartow County 911 dispatchers. They then contacted Atlanta police and airport officials just to warn them of the threat. So Atlanta police arrested Cagle inside the airport after officers were sent a picture of him. They were quickly able to find him there. You're looking at some surveillance video right there on your screen of the encounter and of what happened around there. So following his arrest, officers found an AR-15 rifle in his truck, which had been parked near the airports. Again, if you're just joining us right now, you're also seeing on your screen a live look there at the federal courthouse right now. That's where Billy Joe Cagle is expected to make an appearance. He's pleaded not guilty to those federal charges last month. So we'll keep you posted on any updates that come from that. And taking a look right now at a few of the other stories that are making big headlines today, some local ones here. A Baldwin County magistrate judge and DUI attorney was arrested over the weekend, police say, for driving drunk. That's according to jail records. So here's what we know about this. 71-year-old Shane Geeter. And moving on, there he is. Shane Geeter, whose law firm website says he specializes in DUI cases, was arrested on Saturday by a Georgia State Patrol trooper. That's according to the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. He was booked into the jail there at about 9:45 p.m. Georgia State Patrol officials said that Geeter was pulling onto Georgia 212 in a white Volvo after troopers noticed he was seen failing to stay in his lane. So according to the booking report and what we've seen on this, Geeter is charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and failure to maintain lane. He was released on about a $1,000 bond, 1 a.m. on Sunday. That's according to records. So according to the Baldwin County website, Geeter is the chief magistrate judge. The arrest happened during the busy Thanksgiving travel period. And just for context here, 102-hour period, 10 deadly crashes and 11 deaths statewide. That's according to preliminary figures that were released by the Georgia State Patrol. So always a dangerous evening on the roads. And that's exactly what we saw this year as well. So Fox 5 has reached out to Geeter for comment. I don't believe we've heard back yet from that. But again, this is significant, him being a magistrate judge and also a DUI attorney arrested for alleged driving drunk, according to jail records. All right, well, 2 convicted criminals are facing some charges after nearly 1,600 pounds of methamphetamine hidden in a BlackBerry shipment were intercepted in a multi-agency investigation last month. So getting some info on this. Geraldo Solario Alvarado is 44 years old. Officers are saying he's out of Mexico. And Nelson Enrique Sorto, 36, from Atlanta. They're accused of using these shipments of blackberries to move the drugs, to hide the drugs within those. So both men are convicted felons. That's what officers are saying. And those 2 men right now are accused of using, again, those shipments to move drugs, busted this go around. So federal prosecutors are saying that that agents recovered a combined 1,585 pounds of methamphetamine. This was back on November 20th from 2 refrigerated box trucks that were linked to a Fulton County cold storage website. One of those trucks was found outside of a southeast Atlanta residence, the other at a gas station in Gainesville. Officials are saying the drugs are tied to Mexican cartels and carried a street value of, really no surprise here when you talk about that amount, tens of millions of dollars is the size and the amount that all of these drugs were worth. So a little bit of the backstory here. Investigators say the operation actually began when federal agents observed those 3 refrigerated trucks that were sitting outside outside of the warehouse. And then that evening, one of the trucks left in tandem with an SUV driver driven by Sorto. Agents followed it to a Southwest Atlanta home, and that's where officials say that Sorto opened the rear door and examined the cargo, so they were able to catch him doing this. Georgia State Patrol troopers later stopped the SUV. They found 2 guns. They also found several containers of blackberries in the middle of all this. So a search of the truck parked outside the home uncovered about 924 pounds of methamphetamine parked inside of those blackberry pallets. At the same time, federal agents and Hall County deputies followed a second truck to that gas station we told you about in Gainesville, and that's where Solario Alvarado arrived, picked the driver up, and then left. A narcotics K-9 alerted them to that abandoned truck. Investigators searched it, and that's where they found about 661 pounds of methamphetamine hidden among those blackberry shipments. So that man was arrested, Solario Alvarado, at his home after they say he attempted to flee to the back. So keys to the abandoned truck were recovered inside of the residence here. So Hall County Chief Deputy Kevin Head said the seizure marks the largest meth operation his agency has ever handled. There was a news conference. FBI Special Agent in Charge Paul Brown said the traffickers, this is what we've seen lately, they'll hide drugs in virtually anything to move them across the country. Seems like maybe a month ago there was word of drugs being found at a fruit stand. And then now we're getting this one about a month later. So certainly right on them saying they will go to all kinds of lengths to hide those drugs. But a good story to share here now, with the 1,585 pounds of meth being seized here in Georgia. Okay, so this is one you probably don't need us to tell you about, because if you're a renter, then you know firsthand that things are crazy expensive and only getting more expensive for what you get, right? But Metro Atlanta is asking or saying that rents have surged 60 to 100% in a decade, and that's far outpacing wage growth. That's wild, 60 to 100% in just 10 years. And some counties, in fact, are now seeing average rents of above $2,000 per month. Atlanta Regional Commission says expanding housing supply, including affordable units, is really critical here to try to ease the pressure on these high rents. So our Kevin Stewart spent some time with Emerald Fox as a veteran. She's a veteran, a single mother, and an IT specialist who's moved repeatedly over the last few years from Washington, D.C. to Smyrna, then Douglasville, and now she's preparing for her next stop, East Point. So let's listen into what she had to say about these rising rents.
Did you think moving to Atlanta you were going to get a better bargain?
100%. They'll pay you enough to live on your own. It's unlivable. Nobody can do it on their own. You cannot do it on your own. You have to like shack up or something, and I'm not built like that.
Okay, so certainly a problem there. She knows that firsthand. It's probably something that you know firsthand as well. So we're going to stay on the topic right now of housing. And it really is a human business at its core, but AI is starting to reshape that industry just a bit. So here to talk a little bit more about this with us, we have Atlanta-based HomeSmart agent Sobi Tijali to dive into this. So Sobi, it's so good to have you with us. Good morning. Okay, I'm not hearing you. I think you might be muted, so check your mic. Let's make sure.
My mic.
There we go. I hear you. Okay, I got you now.
Okay.
We got you. We can hear you, Sobi. Okay, loud and clear. So let's take a look at this. I mean, how exactly is AI changing the real estate industry without necessarily replacing the human side of the business?
Yes, you're absolutely right. AI cannot replace the human interaction that's involved with every real estate transaction. I think what AI can do is help enhance our work. So for example, it can help us run comps. It can help us with a marketing plan, whether it's for our personal business or for a listing. It can also help us modify pictures. A lot of times we relied on photographers to do some editing, but we can now have AI help out with that. So it really isn't going to replace humans in any way, shape, or form. As you know, real estate is a very emotional investment. And a lot of people, I walk into homes every day with buyers, and the first thing they say is the house feels right or it doesn't feel right. And AI cannot replace a feeling.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I have heard that, and you know, seen that that's what people are saying about it. Let's take a look at this. The survey by the National Association of Realtors saying 68% of realtors use AI. So you mentioned a few of the things that they're using it for. Are there any other uses that we're seeing so far with AI?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of use for AI, and I think agents who don't use AI will start to be left behind. So typically in a home buying process, you get what's called an inspection report. You get a house inspected and you get this 50 to 100-page document that tells you everything that's wrong with the house. Now, as agents, we know a lot about a lot of things, but we're not experts about everything. So that's where AI can help interpret inspection reports, whether it's HVAC related, roof related, land related, whatever the case may be. AI can help us interpret some of the data and information that we get from an inspection report. And like I mentioned earlier, obviously with listing and marketing and photography, it helps with all that as well.
Yeah. So what can it not do, Sobi?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not going to replace humans, right? Think about it. Every seller wants buyers to come into their home, and every buyer wants to physically see a home. So you can't have AI replace that interaction, right? Like I said, every buyer that I've ever worked with, we walk into a home, they talk about how it feels.
Yeah.
And while we're there, we have a live interaction. We're talking, hey, what do you think of the floor plan? What do you think of the finishes? What do you think of the lot, the amenities, so on and so forth? And AI simply cannot replace that. And you've got to have that human interaction involved.
It's a very interpersonal thing, you know, thinking back to buying a home. Like there's a lot of what you just said that's happening, and that's what you expect as a buyer. You want that. You want that connection with your realtor. So what about negotiating? Is that something that we can see AI playing a role in, or, you know, still going to be a person?
Yeah, no, I think it can assist you, but it's still not the end all be all, right? A human needs to run their comps, needs to do their data, needs to do their research, and figure out what offers are the most appropriate. And AI can assist in that, but in the end of the day, human needs to be the final end all, say all decision maker. So in the end of the day, AI cannot replace trust, negotiation, and that in-person interaction. So again, it should be used to assist the work we do, but not replace the work that we do.
There's something interesting I saw that came out of this report, Sobi, is it's talking about projected $34 billion in efficiency gains for the industry. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, even at HomeSmart, right, we have a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, which has already integrated AI. So it makes the back end work for us a little more streamlined and more efficient. So we're not wasting as much time typing in data, having the broker interpret that data. It's much more streamlined on the back end. And also with marketing, again, whether we're marketing ourselves as agents or we're marketing a listing, it has definitely streamlined that process. And I think a lot of people have probably used Instagram at some point, and even they have AI tools that help you generate videos, help you edit your pictures, so on and so forth. So that's another aspect of it that kind of helps with marketing.
You know, while we have the expert on the line, so to say, before I let you go, give me a peek inside what your buyers are actually wanting. What are some of the features that they're wanting out of homes? I mean, what are you seeing in your line of work that could maybe end up helping someone right now who's trying to sell their home?
Sure. And everyone's different, right? And some people want to live in town. Some people want the suburbs. Some people want a very quiet, remote piece of land. But generally, what I always tell people is buying a location that will secure your investment, right? So I always try to push people away from areas that may not be thriving, may not have a lot of growth, or at least not projected to grow. I like to have people aim towards areas that have a lot of live, work, and play, if you will, right? Close to retail, close to work, and have, you know, retail and other destinations for you to have fun. So that has consistently been the key in real estate. And, you know, like we say, location, location, location. Everyone ultimately wants the right location. You can always get a contractor to fix up a home if needed, but generally the location is still #1 priority.
Okay, well, if there's someone that's watching right now and maybe they are thinking of dipping their toe into the water and trying to buy a house, how can we reach you, Sobi?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Sobi Real Estate, or I have my website, sobirealestate.com. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to chat with anyone.
All right, talking AI and home buying and the difference that it's making. So we have Sobi Tajali joining us this morning with HomeSmart. Sobi, thank you so much for your expertise. We appreciate you weighing in.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Of course. All right, let's get to another really big story in the city that we've got our eye on. Some really big changes could be happening for Atlanta public schools. So 16 Atlanta public schools will either close or be consolidated. That's the word from a big meeting that happened last night, and things got a bit contentious. And this was a unanimous vote, but not everyone is on board with these proposed changes. The district is saying that these schools need to be closed down because of low enrollment, because of a deficit in the budget, but families are saying they think it's a bad move and that it's Black communities that are being targeted by this. So we've got our Mark Teichner on top of this, and he's joining us now with what this all means.
Well, this plan is called APS Forward 2040. It was approved unanimously by the board, but certainly is controversial. Atlanta school board members vote to close 16 of the district schools. The plan, called APS Forward 2040, will see some of those buildings repurposed for other uses. Some will close for good. District officials say the closures are needed to erase a budget shortfall and that the impacted schools have declining enrollments, which limits their academic, specialized, and extracurricular opportunities.
These students shouldn't be taken far away to better schools. Their schools need to be made better.
Just about everyone who addressed the board before the vote came out in opposition to the plan, which they say disproportionately impacts African American communities and removes needed neighborhood anchors.
These closures are a choice, your choice, and it is Black children, Black families, Black neighborhoods who will pay the price for that choice.
I speak for many of our families when I say that we are dreading this process.
Closures will begin in 2027 and are part of a district-wide restructuring that will reshape boundaries, consolidate programs, and reassign staff.
We have to focus on what comes next and minimizing harm. First and most urgently, with the closure looming, our kids cannot afford to lose a year.
We have a list of all 16 of the schools slated for closure on fox5atlanta.com. Reporting from outside of APS headquarters in downtown, I'm Mark Teichner, Fox 5 News.
All right, well, it's December. That means it's cold. If you've stepped outside, you know you probably need the big coat today. That's to be expected, but there is some snow in some regions. So if that got your attention, we're going to check in with our meteorologist, Jonathan Stacey, in just a few minutes. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. 11:20 now. So a lot to talk about weather-wise. We got to start, it's cold, but It's supposed to be cold this time of year, Jonathan. Jonathan Stacey, our meteorologist, joining us now. Hey.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be this cold. This is exceptional for this time of the year. Temperatures are running some 5 to 10 degrees below average.
Okay.
Each and every day for the foreseeable future. And in terms of the future that I forecast, is 7 days out. So there should be a shift in the pattern towards drier air, but I don't really see the cold air budging as we get into mid-December. Let's take a look at the entire nation here. There's only one spot that I'd rather be, and that is South Florida, where the temperature is 81 degrees. Elsewhere, even in North Florida, Jacksonville at 61, 40s and 30s decorated across the South, even as far south as Texas. The panhandle of Texas dealing with temperatures in the upper 20s. And then you have single digits that have laid hold over Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and down into Illinois. That said, they've had multiple waves and rounds of winter weather that have paraded across the northern tier of the United States. These clipper systems and nor'easters have brought on an early winter for so many states across really the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes into the Northeast, and there's still snow on the ground as far south as the boot of Missouri. And there is more to come. Basically, a piece of the polar vortex has broken free and it drifts to the south, delivering more Arctic air. Just for alliteration purposes, I've dubbed it the Arctic air invasion, and it's going to give us another round of snow up across not only the Great Lakes in the Northeast, but as far south as the great state of North Carolina, and we'll even throw the Commonwealth and Virginia in the mix as well. We're not looking at extreme impacts here, but this will be the first snow of the season for the Carolinas, specifically North Carolina, where some places near and around the Triad. That area is Greensboro, North Carolina, along with Winston-Salem. They could get about an inch, maybe 2 inches into the mountains of western North Carolina, where there are some ski slopes. I think they'll be excited to get some fresh powder there. But you can see impacts reaching as far north as central Virginia. So this will be quite an interesting way to end the week there. If you have interest in the Raleigh-Durham area, in the Triangle, I don't see any impacts there, and certainly not for the Charlotte, Mecklenburg area. Meanwhile, here at home, it is just a very chilly start to this Thursday. We're at 43 degrees here in Atlanta, still in the 30s from Blairsville to Dalton, 38 degrees in Carrollton. Some light showers are moving in. It's hard to tell if these showers are actually touching the ground. I think there's too much dry air on the surface, but wait for it, there's more to come. As a result of the thick and stubborn clouds, here's the deal. Temperatures, they say we're not going to move. We're just going to chill out. Either side of 50 degrees. I think the bottom side of 50 degrees is more likely. Tonight will be above average. How about that? The average low is 40 degrees, but we'll stop it at 42. And the only reason we're doing that is because clouds and rain will be in place, and that will protect the temperature a bit. So the first wave moves through today. By 12 noon tomorrow, another wave is riding its coattail. High pressure comes and it does absolutely nothing for us in the way of protecting us from rain. Another hit Saturday, and then look at Sunday, clouds return, and it gives us another opportunity for rain. So look at the rainfall map we're loading up here. Some communities getting more than an inch, so your best chance for more than an inch of rainfall is going to be to the south and to the east of I-85. So when we put all that together, we have quite the doozy of a forecast. It's nothing to get excited about. It's nothing to really bank a whole lot of outdoor plans on, because outside is probably not the friendliest place to be during this time of the year. All the warm, cozy vibes are inside.
Yeah, so, you know, it's the cold mixed with the rain that we've had and the rain that we're expecting that just kind of makes it, cold rain.
It is the worst combination. Because if it were winter weather, there would be at least, with our first couple rounds of winter weather, there would be some type of awe.
Yeah.
It would appear winter-esque, magical. This is raw, it's rugged, and the pattern is sustained. This is not a 1 or 2 day deal. We could still be dealing with a day that looks very much like today, Sunday, and there's signals, as evidenced by that 20% that you see on Monday, that it could still be that way Monday. Perhaps we break free Tuesday into Wednesday, but the clouds, they seem like they're like kind of like camping out and not moving at all.
Around to stay.
Around to say. That's not what you want to hear, but you know, if I'm the bearer of good news, sometimes I have to do a little bit of a reality check. I do see drier conditions moving in next week, so colder conditions, they're sticking around.
So there's that. We're going to hold on to that last part that you just said. Drier conditions next week.
You're trying to just find something.
Just something. So
you're just trying to find something.
Right. That's going to be it.
Grasping at straws.
Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey, thank you so much as always. We appreciate it. Okay, let's get you to some of the national headlines that we are on top of for you this morning. The FBI arrested a man today in its nearly 5-year investigation into pipe bombs that were planted in Washington on the eve of the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. This is all coming from a law enforcement official, what they told the Associated Press. So the arrest is the first time investigators have identified a suspect in an act that's just frustrated investigators, fueled conspiracy theories, and just stayed unsolved, basically, in the aftermath of the Capitol attack. So that official spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss a case that's not been made public just yet. But the arrest happened Thursday morning. The suspect is a man. The official said no other details were available right now, including possible charges. But those pipe bombs were planted January 5th, again, of 2021, right near the offices of the Democratic and Republican National Committees in Washington. No one was hurt before the devices were rendered safe, but the FBI has said both of these cases could have ended differently. They could have been deadly. And in the years since, investigators have asked for the public's help in identifying the figure seen in this surveillance video that we're showing you right now. They've struggled to get even just basic answers about a person's gender, a motive, if it was tied to the Capitol riot a day later, when supporters of President Trump stormed the building to try to block certification of his 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden. So looking for a breakthrough here, the FBI last January released some new details on this, including an estimate that the suspect was about 5'7", and then previously unseen video showing the person planting one of those pipe bombs. So again, for years, they've just tried to figure out who this was. There's been hundreds of tips that have come in, thousands of video files reviewed, and numerous interviews that have been conducted about this. So again, it's been 5 years, and we're told the FBI has arrested a man, in connection to their investigation of these pipe bombs being planted. So we will certainly let you know any other updates that come from that really big news today. Also this, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg on Wednesday ordered 2 January 6 defendants pardoned by President Trump to be refunded in full for restitution payments made and for fines incurred as part of their earlier criminal cases. So this was a reversal from just months earlier when the same judge rejected their bid for repayment. Judge Boasberg used a memo order to outline the fairly complex case history for Cynthia Ballinger and her husband Christopher Price, both of whom had been tried and they'd been convicted on misdemeanor charges in connection to the riots, ordered to pay hundreds of dollars in assessment fees and restitution. So Boasberg order effectively clears the way for the government to refund both of them in full for what they paid for this. New decision, he says, is a result of an appeals court decision, as well as the timing of President Trump's pardon, which came at the same time their case had been pending appeal before the D.C. court. So both defendants, Ballinger and Price, had been in the process of appealing their convictions when President Trump took office for a second time. So back in July, the judge rejected their request to be refunded $570 each in restitution payments and then other fees as part of their convictions. They later asked the court to reconsider that, and that cleared the way for this ruling that came down on Wednesday from the judge. So Boasberg in that new order basically cited the same precedent from July, which states that a pardon alone is not sufficient to entitle a former defendant to any property or compensation lost as a result of that conviction. So the memo goes on and goes one step further. The judge considers not whether a court can fully order repayments in the case of vacated convictions, but if doing so is legally sound. under the Appropriations Clause and with the respect to issues of sovereign immunity, which protects the government from being sued without its consent. So the judge concluded the court does have the power to order such repayment. So again, U.S. District Judge James Borisberg is ordering the two of those defendants to be paid in full, basically, for the fines and the legal fees that they incurred in trying to fight their case. On to this one now, talking about Derek Chauvin. Of course, he's the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of second-degree unintentional murder for the death of George Floyd. Well, he has filed an appeal, and he's asking for a new trial. So let's dig into this a little bit further for you. This filing was submitted November 20th of this year, and the Minneapolis Court of Appeals had previously denied an appeal from him from that new trial back in 2023. The filing states that Dr. Andrew Baker performed an autopsy on George Floyd in the days after his death and determined that he died of cardiopulmonary arrest. And that just complicated law enforcement's restraint, neck suppression, not neck compression, but they didn't find any evidence of injuries consistent with asphyxia. So 4 other doctors looked into this. They determined that Floyd died of asphyxia. However, Chauvin contends their determinations relied on video evidence of Floyd being arrested and restrained by Minneapolis officers. So the filing here states that Chauvin retained a group of physicians at the forensic panel who will testify that the methodology used by the doctors who testified in the trial is not generally accepted in the scientific community. Chauvin also set a forensic analyst of critical incident review to explain the limitations of the video evidence. So here's what happens next in all of this. Chauvin is currently in custody at the federal institution in Big Spring, Texas. He's set to be released from federal prison November of 2037. So again, he has filed an appeal and is asking for a new trial. Well, if you tried to use Venmo and had some issues, maybe things wouldn't log in or you weren't able to make that payment that you were trying to make, there's a reason for that. There's been a service issue, but it's been fixed. Things are back up and running after users reported trouble trying to send money, trying to receive money for hours. This was a big problem. I saw lots of comments on social media, people asking, is this something that you're experiencing? Because I'm experiencing this. So here's a little bit more on what they're saying about the problem was. Also, this Venmo is saying that they were sorry for the inconvenience that it caused, and they're saying they've addressed this with their team. This was in a post on X. So Down Detector, that's a website that tracks when things are down on popular apps and websites. They shared that the problem had been spiking at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So again, this was yesterday. And like I mentioned, a lot of people were posting about this, just trying to figure out what the issue is. The company didn't provide any details about what may have caused this outage and for things to be down, but peer-to-peer payment apps, just like Venmo, have exploded in popularity, which makes it, super noticeable when one like Venmo is down. So again, the good news, they were able to get things back up and running, but no, you're not crazy if you were trying to Venmo someone and weren't able to. There was some kind of system issue, but things are back up and running at this point. So here's another one. I need to go through my refrigerator and take a look at some of the shredded cheese that I have, and it's probably a good idea for you to do the same. That is because a recall has been issued for 260,000 cases of shredded cheese sold in stores in 31 states and Puerto Rico, and it's due to a really serious issue. We're talking possible metal fragment contamination. That's according to the FDA. So that recalled shredded cheese is sold under a number of names. I'm going to take a look at this to be able to provide you with what they're saying about this. I mean, these are brands that are sold at Target, at Walmart, at Publix, at Aldi, at so many of the places that we shop and that we get our shredded cheese. So the FDA has issued a Class 2 warning for this recall, which means that this is a very serious issue, and they want you to take a look. They go through what could happen if you consume these metal fragments, and very, very serious. So we're taking this seriously. They're saying so far there's been no injuries or illnesses that have been reported from this, but Great Lakes Cheese Company issued a recall for multiple shredded cheese products, including Happy Farms shredded Italian blend cheese and Happy Farms mozzarella shredded cheese on October 3rd. And the FDA is reporting multiple states, Georgia's included that, and Puerto Rico are affected by the shredded cheese recall. So we actually have the full list of of brands, because some of them are store brands that are impacted by this recall. And if you go to our website, fox5atlanta.com, and search for the story, you can do a check and make sure that you don't have some of this shredded cheese in your refrigerator. Okay, if you are on TikTok, you probably try to keep up with what's happening with TikTok in the news. So we want to share this story with you out of Hawaii. The state of Hawaii has filed a lawsuit against ByteDance. Of course, that's the parent company of TikTok. And they're saying that this platform was built to be dangerously addictive. Those are their words, for young users, and misleading the public about the harm that it poses. So this is the state of Hawaii filing a lawsuit against the parent company of TikTok. So it's a 106-page complaint filed in Hawaii's First Circuit Court, and it claims the business model is built on compulsive use with programs structured in the platform, basically just to keep you strolling. You know, one video rolls into the next, and they're saying that it's highly addictive for young people and impacting young people in a negative way. So the Attorney General there said the features like the For You feed are basically an endless scroll, autoplay, push notifications, and likes that are all built to maximize time on the app. And this is a quote saying, every additional minute on the platform generates more personal data and more advertising revenue for TikTok. So the feature is also engineered to influence users' neurobiology is what we're seeing in this suit as well, especially dopamine production and tactics similarly used in the gambling industry. This is all according to the complaint. So they're saying that while the addictive techniques are harmful to all users, attorneys are alleging children are particularly vulnerable to this because of their limited ability to self-regulate screen time. So a substantial part of TikTok's user base is under the age of 18, with internal records showing millions of users are under the age of 13. And that's some info to come out of this complaint as well. So we haven't heard from TikTok just yet. They have not released a statement about the suit. But the state's action is seeking to stop TikTok from employing what they call these harmful and deceptive practices, require meaningful safeguards for children, and ensure TikTok accurately discloses the risk associated with its platform. So again, this lawsuit filed by the state of Hawaii against the parent company of TikTok, ByteDance, that is certainly a story that we will stay on top of for you. Well, still ahead, we are talking about how to deal with holiday pests. We'll also have something just to brighten them up as well. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, Thanksgiving passed. We are a few days into December. We have Christmas coming up. We have Hanukkah coming up. And you're probably preparing to be invaded by family members, whether you like it or not, which is one thing. But it's another thing entirely to be invaded by pests. That is certainly not what we want any time of the year, but especially now. So we're joined right now by our Chris Rosenthal to talk about how to keep these types of invaders out. That's what we want to do, Chris. Good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're probably going to have a lot of people over and a lot of cooking and a lot of food here in your kitchen, and you know, that's kind of a hot spot for pests. So that's why I got Vanessa here from Arrow Exterminators. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello.
We've been talking all morning about some of the areas and going through this kitchen, some of the areas that are potential problem areas and some things we can do. So let's get started right here. First of all, traps. Easy thing, huh?
Yeah. So we like to refer to these as monitoring boards, because monitoring is absolutely a key part of any pest control or IPM, integrated pest management. Some of them even have pheromones where they attract the insects. These ones do not, but they're totally non-toxic, and this is how it looks when it's folded up. It's folded to really prevent a non-target pest or anything basically larger than an insect from getting caught. If they do get caught on any glue boards, mineral oil, vegetable oil. But you can see the entire process. You start with this flat one, you fold it, you peel it, and then you set it. A great place I was showing you earlier, Chris, to put it right underneath the sink, and that's because you have a major entry point, and that's any plumbing entry points in your house.
And that's something a pest control person can do. You can also pick these up at a store as well.
You absolutely can. You should follow the label on any product that you buy on your own.
And pets. Lots of us have pets.
Yes, I have pets.
And we've got the water and food bowls.
Yes.
This is a problem area, huh?
Yeah. Well, this one is not. This is a 10 out of 10 because I could notice, first of all, when I got here, that the food bowl where the pet's food is kept is empty, and that's a good sign. Now, it could just mean the pet has finished consuming their meal, but what I'm really looking for is if we free feed our pets or leave the dry food out, cats or dogs, that at night, at the very least, we dispose of it or put it back in its container. And speaking of pet food containers, Chris, you know, the bags that you buy at the store, they're not going to keep pesky rodents out. I know. I had cat food delivered by Amazon the other night. I heard someone going through it. It wasn't someone. It was a rat. They are ingenious. So this airtight, sealed container is a fantastic way of preventing rats. Have I seen rats chew on these before? Yes, but it usually takes them a much longer time to get in there if they can, and you're going to notice it. If you do, call your local pest professional right away.
I mean, that's food for your dogs and cats, but that's also food for rodents.
It's food for rodents, insects, everything, every invading critter in the house. And that brings us to our family's food here in the pantry. And so you could get things like pantry pests. Indian meal moth is a real common one. They love whole grains, nuts, candies, dried fruit, these types of things in here. You would think, you were saying to me, Vanessa, isn't this sealed? I can feel the air, so yes, this one is in fact sealed, but most of the time if we introduce pantry pests, we're introducing them from the food item when we originally brought it in. So the warehouses where they're packaged, the mills where the grains are produced. Think these types of things here.
I mean, something like these Cheez-Its, like that's something I would have, and it's kind of open. And
yeah, absolutely. So Cheez-Its don't last very long in my house, so having it stored like this is perfectly fine for about 48 hours. But really, if it's going to stay like this for any longer, your best bet is to transfer it into an airtight sealed container with a lid instead of leaving it out, because it could get infested. And you can just do a visual examination. You're looking for something small, brown with legs that's crawling around. A lot of people have told me they look like little beetles, but if you see anything crawling around in your pantry, it's probably time to call your pest professional out.
And you should also seal that up and get rid of it, huh?
Yes, if you do find any contaminated items, obviously you're going to want to get rid of that right away. It helps if you can take a picture for identification purposes, but you're going to want to throw it away in a sealed plastic bag or container, like a trash bag basically, or a grocery bag, tie it off, but please put it in your outside dumpster. Don't put it in your inside garbage can. You want to get that out of the house as soon as possible.
speaking about airtight, this homeowner's doing something right down here.
That's absolutely right. Here is another 10 out of 10 that I noticed here. So I saw this airtight container with some leftover spaghetti, and I know from these, this is probably how it originally came. We used some spaghetti for a meal, and instead of putting the leftovers back in an open box, it was placed in an airtight container. Chris, another great reason for this, besides preventing infestation, preventing spreading of it, is it's clear. You can see it. You can do a quick visual inspection, whereas this only has these two small inspection windows.
And you know, let's talk about the outside there. Let's talk about you know, critters have to get inside your home.
That's how they come from somewhere, Chris. They are coming from the outside. So upon just a quick look, it doesn't really look like there's an entry point here. But if you look here, you could see some light coming in. And if light can come in, pests can come in too. Shall I go on the other side and shine the light really quick? Here, let's do it on the bottom. See what comes through, Chris.
Yeah, and you can see some light, and this is something. Well, lock you out here.
Listen, it's keeping me out, but it's not keeping the pest out if the light got through. Did it?
I did see a little bit of light there.
Yep, that's enough for pests to get in. So having your weather stripping checked and upkeep, and that's going to help you with other things too, like energy and energy costs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all really great tips and advice to keep pests out, because we don't want them with the holidays, at least, that's for sure.
That is the truth. So certainly some helpful tips that we will take to keep these pests out. So Chris, thank you so much for joining us with the very latest on that. Some good info for us. Okay, so something I'm pretty excited to share with you today. We have had some fun with this. Hopefully Chris's report was helpful to you to keep the pest out, but we don't want to make you feel icky any longer. We want to brighten things up a little bit. So that's what we're doing. Many of us are looking just for something to engage our family and to be joyful and joyous this time of year. So that's what inspired Neil Hoffman. He's the creator of the Minch on the Bench to start a Hanukkah tradition that was started more than a decade ago. So Neil is joining us now to talk a little bit about his creation and what this means to so many families. So Neil, thank you so much for joining us on the stream. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, let's add some Hanukkah to Hanukkah and turn these topics around.
Let's do it. Okay, I got to tell you, you sent one here. We have had the most fun with the Minch on the Bench and just kind of learning about it, and just the cutest little guy on top of that. I'm holding it up for folks on the stream to see. But let's talk about the origin of this. So you created the Minch on the Bench. How did this idea turn into such a fun Hanukkah tradition?
So I have spent over 20 years in the toy industry. So about 12 years ago, I was walking through the store with my son, Jake. He asked for an elf on a shelf, and I said, just made a joke. And I said, no, man, we're Jewish. You can have a Mensch on a bench. And I fell in love with the idea. And I went back that night and I wrote the story of the Mensch on a bench, which keeps true to the story of Hanukkah and how the oil lasted for 8 nights. But when the Jews go to sleep in the temple, the Mensch stays up and watches over the lights. And Mensch means good, honorable person. So that's what the Mensch is. And every day they wake up, they can't believe that the oil's still lit. The Mensch introduces a different concept, whether that is dreidel or menorahs or gelt, which is the candy that we eat. And it's a fun way of getting families to engage in Hanukkah and bring some Hanukkah traditions to Jewish and non-Jewish households.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to explore that part of this in just a moment too. But your story is so interesting, and I feel like I can't let you get off of here without mentioning the fact that folks at home might have been like, I think I've seen this guy on Shark Tank. They absolutely did see you on Shark Tank. So really quickly, tell us about the experience there and what it was like, being able to bring this to a national audience.
Yeah, Shark Tank was terrifying. And for me, I think the goal was, how do you not get laughed off, right? Because you're going on, you're like, I have a great idea for a Jewish toy brand. And here is the little guy himself, the Mensch on a bench. So I went on, we had distribution in Michael's and Target and Walmart and Bed Bath & Beyond at the time. And almost $1 million in purchase orders. And when I talked to the Sharks and they realized I actually came from the toy industry and we had something real here, I got 3 offers, and I signed with Robert Hershevik and Laura Grenier. I've been with them for over a decade. I love them to death. They are just great partners, and 10 years in, we've put Menches into hands of over 500,000 families.
That's amazing. That's the number I was curious, you know, how many homes that this has found its way into. That's impressive, in just 10 short years, able to do that much with it. But I got to ask, okay, so that is different than what we have, which is the unicorn guy, and then it looks like behind you you've got some other ones as well. So this looks like it's really just branched off into so much more than what it started as.
So every year we try and introduce a new item to continue to just bring fun into the marketplace. Here is our mitzvah moose. His antlers light up every time he does a good deed. That is what mitzvot means. And what you're holding in right there is the Junicorn. It's the first Jewish unicorn.
Oh my gosh.
So we have a lot of fun. We want kids to cuddle these, and we want, them to look forward to Hanukkah, and it's a tool. So we encourage families to use it however they want. If they want their mensch on a bench to hold their candles, if they want to take pictures with them and move them around, whatever we can do to help bring some happiness out into the place.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect. It is. And each of the characters, I think, are just so sweet as well. So, earlier on you mentioned that this is for Jewish families, but it's also for non-Jewish families too. So let's talk about that. I mean, you don't have to be Jewish to enjoy the Mensch on a Bench.
So first of all, the book tells the story of Hanukkah and the Mensch on a Bench. It's educational, so it's meant to be applicable to anyone. And then right now, Jewish interfaith marriages are about 50%. And my wife is Catholic, and a lot of us are struggling where Christmas is so much fun and so overpowering for the whole month of December. How do we have something that brings kind of the Jewish faith to life, and you bring something into your home to show, hey, we celebrate both of these things? And that's where we've also seen a lot of traction with the Mensch on a Bench.
Well, I got to tell you, highly impressive. Love the Junicorn. Love every single aspect of this, and still really impressed in what you've been able to accomplish in 10 years. So Neil Hoffman, creator of the Mensch on a Bench, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I can't wait to see.
Happy Hanukkah in 10 days.
Of course, and to you as well. Thank you so much for being on with us today. Okay, we want to get you to some breaking news that we're on top of. We've got a live aerial view of Sandy Springs. So I want to share with you what we know about what's happening right here. This is where the Georgia Bureau of Investigation has confirmed there is an officer-involved shooting. The Sandy Springs Police Department is currently at the scene in the area of Dunwoody Place and Roswell Road, and they are asking the public to steer clear of this area. So Fox 5 does have a crew on the way to the scene, and we'll have more as our live hours continue here throughout the day. But again, this is a breaking news situation. This is happening in the area of Dunwoody Place and Roswell Road in Sandy Springs, an officer-involved shooting in the area. So we'll stay on top of this, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, the SEC championship game, you may have heard about this little thing. It's a huge thing. It's happening this weekend. So you're either cheering for Alabama, you're cheering for Georgia. I know who Eli Jordan is cheering for, but he's joining us right now. At the College Football Hall of Fame, they're changing their hours to accommodate all of these guests that are being counted. Right, Eli?
Hey, yeah, they sure are. They're going to be open early Saturday, and for the Alabama Roll Tide and Georgia game. And, you know, College Football Hall of Fame has been around since 2014, and they come up with different ways to, you know, keep it fresh. You know, Alabama fans, they've been here maybe 16 times, and Georgia fans have been here 13 times. And so they got to keep things fresh. And, you know, they've recently implemented some AI for the personalized experience here, and we'll show that later on today. But, you know, well, they know what team I like, so there it goes. But I'm joined here by Yoman Brown, Communications Director here at the Hall of Fame. Yoman, tell me, how excited are you guys about this weekend coming up? It's a big one.
It is a huge weekend. It encapsulates everything that we work for, to see the teams that we love and the teams that fans love to hate. The banter that'll be back and forth with the SEC championship in town will be phenomenal, not only for us, but for the city at large.
And also, too, it's not only the SEC championship game. I mean, there's a game a couple weeks later, and then also the big semifinal game, right?
Atlanta is the home of college football, and we're looking at three phenomenal matchups: the SEC championship, the Celebration Bowl in a few weeks, and the Peach Bowl, which would be a semifinal matchup.
And just tell me, you guys have implemented, you know, you keep it fresh. Like I said, Bama fans have been here dozens of, 16 times. Georgia fans have been here 13 times. How do you guys keep it fresh? I mean, I see some new exhibits here.
We became the first museum in North America to put AI into the experience. And with that, fans will never see themselves immersed in the same experience. We keep it fresh. We keep it new. We have about 6 different new updates, including a new Heisman Trophy exhibit, because it's the 90th anniversary of the Heisman Trophy this year.
Awesome. And then, you know, you guys have some hours in consideration of the SEC championship game,
With
correct?
the SEC championship, our typical hours are 10 to 5, which you can find on our website at cfbhall.com. However, we want fans to get in, so we're opening the doors an hour early this Saturday, so we'll be open from 9 to 5, so you can get that ultimate tailgate experience in.
And you guys are just right around the corner from the stadium.
You can park once and walk. It is a group project here in Atlanta, so you can park next to our doors and go all the way through game time.
And also, too, I mean, if you don't have a ticket, it's an experience hanging out here to watch the game.
We will have the game on the video board inside as well, so come and stay and enjoy.
Eli, I got to stop you
Thank
here.
you so much. And we'll kick it back to you guys as they get ready for the SEC championship.
We got it. Eli, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Keep it here. We'll see you at noon.
Fox 5 News at noon starts right now.
Now at noon, we're learning the next steps for the trial against the man accused of threatening to shoot up Atlanta's airport. We'll have a live report with the very latest. Plus, the plan to close or repurpose 16 Atlanta schools is now moving forward. Why some parents say the move will negatively impact predominantly black communities and how the district is responding. And we're following breaking news right now in Sandy Springs. The GBI is investigating an officer-involved shooting. Take a good look at your screen if you can. Fox 5 is flying over the scene to give you some perspective. This is at Dunwoody Place and Roswell Road. There's a large police presence in the area. If you take a look, there are countless cars there flooding the street. Authorities want the public to stay clear of this entire stretch of road. We have a Fox 5 team on the way, and we'll be sure to update you as soon as we learn more. The Bartow County man accused of planning to shoot up Hartsfield-Jackson will undergo a mental evaluation. Billy Joe Cagle is still in federal custody, and prosecutors say he had a weapon in his possession when officers apprehended him at Hartsfield-Jackson International. You might remember that was back in October. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is live at the federal courthouse in downtown Atlanta with the very latest in this high-profile case. Deidre, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Allison. That's right. Of course, as we know, the defendant was captured, apprehended, taken into custody by Atlanta police before anyone could possibly be injured or before the defendant made contact with anyone there at the airport. He was not in court here today. We are told that because this was only a pretrial hearing, a pretrial conference, he was not required to be in the courtroom, but his defense attorneys did meet prosecutors today as they discussed several motions filed in connection with this case. Now, the defense did want their client to be released from jail on bond from federal custody while he is undergoing a mental evaluation. Both the prosecution and the defense agreed, filed motions requesting that Cagle undergo a mental evaluation, and the court did agree to that today. But as far as how that was to occur, there was a little contention there because the defense did want Cagle to be released on bond and then to be transferred to an inpatient facility where that mental evaluation would take place. The prosecution said no, we will not agree to that, and so that that evaluation is going to take place at the facility where Cagle is being held. We did talk to Cagle's attorneys after today's pre-conference hearing about the fact that they are still hoping to get their client out on bond, and here's what they had to say.
We certainly anticipate what the results of the mental health evaluation is going to be, and based on what we believe those results are going to be, we will be, after that, moving for bond to get him released into an inpatient facility and not just be released out, to the general public. So we need to place it safe for him and for the public.
Now, of course, both the family, Cagle's family, and also attorneys have gone on record as stating that Mr. Cagle does suffer from some mental health issues, has in the past. And although his attorneys did say today that they did not want to discuss those in great detail, we did ask them how Mr. Cagle was doing, and we were told that he is in good spirits. They have 45 days for Mr. Cagle to undergo these evaluations, and they are expected to be back in court here on March 2nd. And that's the latest here in downtown Atlanta. Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
It'll be interesting to see what, if anything, becomes of that. Deidre, thank you. Now to a tragedy out of Clayton County. A mother now has to plan a funeral just weeks before Christmas after her 16-year-old daughter was shot and killed on Thanksgiving Day. A 15-year-old boy accused of pulling the trigger is now behind bars. That shooting happened in the Ellenwood community. The victim, who you just saw on your screen, was Taylor Hamilton. She was a sophomore at Booker T. Washington High School. Many of you know that's in Atlanta. Her mother says she was a good girl.
It's very, very sad for me, and making sure I keep her name alive and I get justice for what happened to her.
The 15-year-old accused shooter is identified as Adonis Al-Karim. We're revealing his name even though he's a teenager because he's being charged as an adult in this case. Family and friends of 17-year-old Anwan Moffitt just held a balloon release in his honor. This is video from last night. He was shot and killed over the weekend outside the Bando restaurant on MLK Drive Southwest. Candles were arranged to form the teen's nickname, Big, as the crowd sought to comfort each other. His uncle says more needs to be done to stop Atlanta's young people from getting caught up in violence.
Well, we got to grab hold of our kids. And the politicians need to look at what they need to look at. Instead of hide behind the desk, open your mouth and help us. We can't do it all without them. It's all the young people that's dying. It ain't a whole lot of older people dying. It's a whole lot of young people that's dying, and they dying from gun violence. And it ought not to be that way.
Yeah, lives ended too soon. Right now, police are still looking for Moffitt's killer. So if you know anything about this case, you're encouraged to call police. You can always do so anonymously. An execution date has been set for convicted killer Stacey Humphreys. In 2007, he was convicted and sentenced to death after Lori Brown and Cynthia Williams were murdered inside a Cobb County model home. The two women worked there as real estate agents. Prosecutors say Humphreys kidnapped, shot, and strangled them before stealing their debit and credit cards. After a lengthy legal challenge, his execution has finally been set for December 17th at 7 p.m. at the Georgia Diagnostic and Classification Prison. That's in Jackson. New this hour, a Catoosa County jury has convicted a man following a brutal attack earlier this year on his girlfriend. A jury found 53-year-old Shane Bowling guilty on multiple charges, including aggravated assault and family violence battery. Back in January, deputies responded to a domestic dispute at a home in Ringgold. Investigators say Bowling had slammed the woman to the ground, dragged her by her hair before pointing a gun at her head. A Catoosa County judge sentenced Bowling to 15 years in prison. People living at a Stone Mountain apartment complex say car break-ins happen far too often, including one Sunday night when thieves smashed parked cars' windows and then stole a purse. DeKalb County police are investigating complaints at Midwood Gardens and an apartment complex all the way across the street. Tenants blame a front gate for the issue that they say has been broken for more than a year now.
This apartment, this happens almost every 2 weeks. I feel that this is going to continue happening until someone steps up.
We reached out to Midtown Gardens for comment, and the manager there says their corporate office will manage the request. We'll let you know if and when they ever get back to us. Well, Fox 5 will be following closely what happens in Chicago today, where a status hearing has been scheduled for former DeKalb County School Superintendent Devon Horton. Back in October, he pleaded not guilty to multiple charges related to an alleged kickback scheme during his old job. His federal indictment includes 17 charges for wire fraud and embezzlement out of suburban Chicago, Evanston. Meanwhile, the DeKalb County School Board is looking to modernize Druid Hills High School. This comes after videos taken inside campus facilities back in 2022 showed exposed wiring, leaking sewage, and cracked walls. At last check, construction to bring the school up to code was expected to cost $141 million. The board is expected to vote next week on a plan. That meeting is set for 11:30 a.m. next Monday, which you can watch via live stream on the district's website. Developing news this afternoon, 16 Atlanta public schools will close or at least be consolidated after a unanimous vote. This came just yesterday. Some parents say the plan unfairly targets black communities, but the district says the decision is needed to balance the books and better utilize school buildings. Fox 5's Mark Teichner is outside APS headquarters with more on what this means.
Well, this plan is called APS Forward 2040. It was approved unanimously by the board, but certainly is controversial. Atlanta school board members vote to close 16 of the district schools. The plan, called APS Forward 2040, will see some of those buildings repurposed for other uses. Some will close for good. District officials say the closures are needed to erase a budget shortfall and that the impacted schools have declining enrollments, which limits their academic, specialized, and extracurricular opportunities.
These students shouldn't be taken far away to better schools. Their schools need to be made better.
Just about everyone who addressed the board before the vote came out in opposition to the plan, which they say disproportionately impacts African American communities and removes needed neighborhood anchors.
These closures are a choice, your choice, and it is black